Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Make people feel a certain way, but I think that our players will do what they feel comfortable doing, and we will support that, and I hope that they support one another. I want it to be real. I want it to be authentic, and so sometimes that path for demonstration or bringing about positive change may look differently for each person. But we always have those conversations, and it's about respect and listening, Teresa.
That right there is Mike Vrabel, coach of the Tennessee Titans, talking about what they plan to do. This weekend, NFL kicked off. How woke was it? It's very interesting. Wasn't that woke? To be honest. I mean, maybe that was because I was flipping through all the games. It was good to be back. And I know some people are pissed, and it's funny, I posted some on the old, Twitter and all the Instagram and everything about how woke was it. And you get a lot of people out there, mostly angry white people who are like, I'm never going to watch the NFL again. That's totally your prerogative, right? Like, I like the NFL. I'm going to watch it. I don't base, if it becomes 24/7, then yes. I mean, I think the NBA went too far. And I think there was a ton of hypocrisy with the NBA, especially with the way they handled China. But this weekend, to me, I was curious, right? For all the stuff we're going through, we're going to touch on the coronavirus and the hair on fire stuff. The reality is this weekend, a lot of people were looking forward to watching the games. What was it going to be like? Was it going to be uber woke? Was it going to be nothing but social justice? And outside of a few incidents where people, somebody took a knee or they stayed inside, it was just football. The weird thing was there was no crowd there. There was a smattering of crowds in Thursday night in Kansas City, yesterday in Jacksonville. I think they had like 15,000 fans there as well. So it was a regular Jacksonville game. But outside of that, it was just a very weird and eerie thing. Watching that football game last night, Dallas and LA in that brand new $5 billion stadium. So to give you just a snapshot on what that thing cost, I think Atlanta's new stadium cost $1.3 billion, the Mercedes, which is incredible. I think it cost $1 billion for Texas Stadium. It's like $1.3 billion for MetLife out there in New York. This stadium cost $5 billion, most of it's private money, and it was eerily empty. But I enjoyed the games. I did. They were sloppy. Everybody looked a little bit of a mess. It's your first preseason game for all intents and purposes. But most people that tuned in at first wanted to see, is it going to be super woke? So I have a reason to go back and say, I'm going to watch football because it's super woke. It wasn't any of that. It wasn't. It was quick. They did some stuff at the beginning, talked about a few things. By and large, television stayed mostly away from it, and it was football. When the game kicked off, the players were about football, so I enjoyed it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. We're going to be talking a bit more about this throughout the day because I think it is a way that we're getting back to some normalcy, if you will. The way that we're feeling. This has always been to me, I've always eyed the fall as a time when we start to build it back, rebuild a little bit, start to get back out there. And I look up and I'm starting to feel like, okay, is that starting to happen? Is it not? Is football going to be there? Is it not? This was one of those things where, to me, I was looking at this as the changing of the seasons, and hopefully the fourth quarter of this year was going to be way better than the first quarter. Because as we all know, the first quarter sucked. The second quarter doubly sucked. The third quarter sucked, but not as much as the second, but a little bit more than the first. And hopefully the fourth quarter is going to be nice.
Mr. Woodward, the president.
Hi, Bob.
President Trump, how are you?
How are you?
I'm turning my recorder on here, as I always do.
Yeah, some more of that stuff out last night. Is it hair on fire? Of course it is. It's totally hair on fire. It's nothing but hair on fire. That's what this is all about, is hair on fire. These September things, these October surprises, the whole nine yards. It much like sports, this doesn't feel like it's really a campaign. the way that we've seen in the past. The coronavirus is made sure of that. I listened to some of the stuff. I watched the interview.
And I said, it's a tough book. There are going to be things that you are not going to like. He, at the end, said, well, I didn't get you on this book. Maybe I'll get you on the next one.
But it looks like I don't have it on this book, but we'll get you sometime later.
It's tough, sir. Thank you very much.
And after you told the president that it was, in your words, a tough book, what did he do?
An hour and a half later, he tweeted that the Bob Woodward book is going to be fake.
Yeah, of course he did. He's got to protect himself. You're coming out. You have a preconceived notion of Trump. Many journalists, and Bob Woodward is one of the few people out there I still think have that integrity of journalism, although he leans left. I think we all realize that. In many cases in journalism, especially now when they're doing certain things, they've already got a perceived, notion of who you are. This is who you are. This is who I'm defining you as. This is who you are. Now I'm going to write all this, and then I'll sit down and talk with you. And based on that, I'm still going to publish what I wrote before because I've already got my eternal belief on you. So internally, I believe you're X, Y, and Z. So this is what it's going to be. And that's the way it went. I don't expect anything different. You saw the first one. His first book came out. Was it kind to Trump? This book isn't going to be. And if Trump wins another one, he'll probably do another book. And Trump will give him the time of day. And the next book will be just as bad. Not saying everything in there's a lie and it's fake because I don't believe it to be true. One of the things I think that journalists missed in a lot of things when it comes to reporting nowadays stories, and I use the word in quotation, reporting, is how much they think this stuff affects the thinking of the average person that's going to vote for Trump or against Trump. People that are voting for Biden not based on, the coronavirus and in the way he's handled it, because even if their life was the best in the world, even now, it still doesn't matter. They're not going to vote for Trump. They don't like Trump. People are voting for Trump, don't care how bad it's getting, don't care how bad it got. They're voting for Trump, regardless of that, because they love Trump. It's the people in the middle who step back, and there's about 18 to 20% of people who are saying to themselves, I'm going to look at every single thing and the way this breaks down. Do I like Trump? Maybe, maybe not. I don't hate him. I don't really have too many. He doesn't evoke emotions. For me, that's a perfect example. To me, he doesn't evoke any emotion. He makes me laugh and he frustrates me, but that's where it stops. For too many other people, last week somebody tweeted at me and said, well, Trump's going to be gone in, 60 or 90 days and then I'll be happy. I said, your happiness is predicated on whether or not your presidential candidate becomes the president of the United States or the other team gets in. That's what your happiness is based. If your happiness is based on that, that's not a good thing. So for most people, they've already made up their mind. But for that 18 to 20%, 15 to 20% out there who have made up somewhat of their mind, it's still too early for them. As much as they would like to say, I'm going to vote for Trump or I'm going to vote for Biden, and they'll tell you that now, they're still in a situation where, hey, subject to change. How does Trump win those people? How does Biden win those people? It's tough for Biden. And I'll tell you why. Biden doesn't have any enthusiasm. That's about it. Biden has very little enthusiasm at all. Last night I watched, somebody was on TikTok and Trump was in Nevada, and they had the TikTok how many people were in line for Trump, and it went on forever just to get on the buses to take people there. Biden's not evoking that emotion, not to bring people out. Now, Biden will have a lot of people that will vote because he's a Democrat and he's not Trump. But there's not enthusiasm. If it was based solely on enthusiasm, Biden gets boat raced.
There is a reason why Bernie Sanders and other Democrats are so concerned about Joe Biden and the lack of enthusiasm with his candidacy.
Tons Tons of that. In fact, the enthusiasm with inside of his candidacy is the lack of enthusiasm. That's where that's at. It's the lack of. Biden knows people aren't voting for Biden. Most people are voting against Trump, if they're voting at all. And that's going to be huge. And this is not one of those things where I think a lot of people look at the numbers and Biden's. Remember, Biden was 10, 12, 14 points up weeks and months ago. Now it's 7. Now it's 5. Now Trump is cutting in, and he is making this thing closer and closer on a daily basis. And you can't tell me that these 3 debates don't matter. If Trump manages to land several knockout blows on these 3 debates, you will see that 15 to 20% of independents who may lean towards Biden because they don't like the chaos take a step back inside and say, you know what? I don't know if I can do that. I've had a couple of friends who for the last several months have told me there's no way I could ever vote for Trump. And over the last month and a half, they said, I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure yet. And I think there's lots of that out there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Tweet at me, text the program. Hope you had a good weekend. I know producer Phil did. I texted producer Phil as the ball was in the air at the Washington football stadium of the aforementioned Redskins. The ball's in the air, and I said, there's always next year. And then it was 17-0. And then I text Phil after the game, my apologies, because the Washington, I almost said the Redskins, the Washington football team came back and won. And producer Phil had lots of food. Do you feel good, Phil? Do you feel like, wow, I can't believe we're 1-0?
Number 1 in the NFC East.
Number 1 in the NFC East. It was awesome. It was just great to watch football. But Chad, you know what? I don't go to places based on their belief systems to eat food. I don't know what the CEO thinks, and the ones that do, you know what? I'm here for the food. And I don't watch football for the wokeness or non-wokeness. I'm here to watch the sports. If it carries on throughout the game, then that's a different story. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Tweet at me, text the program. I got an 81 score on my sleep index here. So what does that mean? That's good. That's good. 100's perfect. But because of purple, I'm living the dream. I'll tell you why, because I went to bed late last night. I was up watching the football game, had to do some work with the Lizards. By the time I got to bed, it was late. I was getting up at 2 o'clock this morning, so I only had about 5 hours of sleep, and I slept. Didn't move. It was incredible. Thank you, Purple. Purple has the grid. Patented comfort technology. Instantly adapts your body's natural shape, sleep style. Purple is for every body. What does that mean? Soft where you want it, firm where you need it. The open air channels, the grid, they have 2,800 of them. Going to make sure that you sleep cool and comfortable. Never too hot, never too cold. It's amazing. And the other thing is never lose shape, and it's not going to sink. It is truly incredible. Purple's so confident in what they do that every Purple mattress comes with a guarantee. Free shipping, free returns, 100-night risk-free trial. If you don't like it, you send it back. No questions asked. They refund your money. Experience the next evolution of sleep. Go to purple.com/Benson. Use promo code Benson. 10% off. Purchases over 200. Financing available. That's purple.com. Purple.com. Use the promo code Benson. Purple.com. Promo code Benson. Terms apply. Chad Benson Show.
Take it anymore! Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
You're known as the reporter who doesn't put his thumb on the scale. And yet, at the end of this book, you do just that.
It's a conclusion based on overwhelming evidence. He could not rise to the occasion with the virus and tell the truth. And one of the things that President Trump told me in the presidency, there's always dynamite behind the door. The real dynamite is President Trump. He is the dynamite. Yes, I say the president is the wrong man for the job.
Bob Woodward there. And what he said and what they asked him last night about putting your finger on the thumb, your thumb on the scale, is, hey, you're a journalist. You tell us the who, what, when, how, and why. You give us the picture, but you allow us to make up your own decision. Make the decision like, hey, should I have this guy as my president? Should I vote for this guy? Doesn't matter what the story or article is about. He doesn't do that with this. At the end, he makes it very clear Trump is not the guy for the job. Now, the voters, they'll have their say. I don't know what it looks like. I've said all along that both of these candidates will snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Both of them will have opportunities to pull away or to gain and to look like they've turned the tide tremendously, whether it be Trump or look like they've slipped up, and they will screw up again. So it is going to be, and it's going to be a long process. I'm here to tell you guys to think on that November night that we're going to get a situation where you're going to get either of these guys conceding. It's just not going to happen. The following Sunday, I would not be surprised, and I could be wrong, right? Because I'm a human being, make mistakes. But this is an opinion, and this is just my thought based on the stuff I've read and the people I've talked to. On the night, Trump may look like he has it. By the end of the weekend, don't be surprised if it's flipped and Biden looks like he's president, and then get ready for several weeks of lawsuits and battles, and it's going to be ugly. It's going to be long. It's going to be drawn out. Unless it is such a resounding beatdown, meaning Trump. If Trump loses, if I'm Trump, the biggest thing I'm worried about is if I lose on the night, even if it's close. Because I know with the mail-in ballots, the absentee ballots, that's going to go to the Democrats. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. How young is too young to vote? We talk about it. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The reason I made that projection about 2021, right now, today, in real time, we're averaging close to 40,000 new infections a day and 1,000 deaths. So we are still in the middle of this. And in order to get any semblance of normality, you've got to get that baseline number of infections way down.
Fauci. Hey, it's still here, kids. For all the chaos, the craziness, the lunacy, it's still here. It hasn't gone anywhere. We're still hoping and praying that we get a vaccine sooner rather than later. At the end of the day, though, even if we got the vaccine green light today, it is still going to take a while for all of us to get the vaccine.
Now, I believe, as I've predicted, that when we get a vaccine, and I feel cautiously optimistic that we will have a vaccine by the end of this calendar year as we get into early 2021. Once that happens, then we're going to start seeing as we get into 2021 and we deploy the vaccine that we're going to get a much better control over the outbreak. But it's not going to be turning a switch off and turning a switch on. It's going to be gradual.
Well, I think that's what look, if we got the vaccine and at some point in time, right? And I'm going to say this, and I think most of you will probably agree with me. Some of you won't. At some point when we get the vaccine and we have therapeutics, all bets are off. We need to get back to living our lives. We need to get back out there. If that means that this thing, and there doesn't seem to be any real reason why we should think that this thing's going to disappear. You'd love to think that was going to happen, but if we get the vaccine, if we get therapeutics, I think we're getting closer to therapeutics. And I think we're getting closer just in ways we're treating this that is helping people not get to the point where they need to go to the hospital and be hospitalized. And when they are there, though, we're finding treatments and way to get them back out quicker. In saying all of that, there is going to be a point where we have to get back out there. I've been saying it. We have to learn to live with it, through it, and around it, especially if it's going to be something that's here with us all the time, which means our immunity is going to have to build up. But that is going to take time. That is absolutely going to take time.
And I think it's going to take several months before we get to the point where we can really feel something that approximates how it was normally before COVID-19. And for that reason, I made the projection of getting back to that state of normality well into 2021.
I could see about 9 months from now where we feel like, hey, this feels, normal. We'll still probably have it. We're going to have the flu, so we'll have a double whammy. But I don't feel like we're going to be stuck in this. And I've never thought we're going to be stuck in this thing forever. I've always thought at some point in time, we're either going to go, screw it, we're going to have to get on with our lives, or we're going to figure something out. I think the worst of it, and I do believe myself, the worst of it's behind us as far as the casualties and death. And the reason for that is I think the most vulnerable have already felt the brunt. We've made the mistakes. We knew coming into this thing, we didn't know a lot about it. I don't care what Trump says. I mean, the funny thing is they go back to February 7th talking about Trump and Woodward.
It's a very tricky situation. It goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. The touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. So that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than even your strenuous flus. People don't realize we lose 25,000, 30,000 people a year here. Who would ever think that, right?
I know. It's
pretty amazing. This is more deadly. This is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. This is deadly stuff.
It's just under 3% based on the numbers that we have now. So it's not even 5%. He got that wrong. And the reality is it's probably closer to, the flu is what? 0.1, like 1/10 of 1%. Where I think this is probably closer to 3/10 of 1%. And that's without a vaccine and without any therapeutics. I think the goal is that people are looking at, because I just don't feel, because of the virus and the way it is, I don't feel like we're going to get a one and done shot. I think it's going to be a situation where maybe just like the flu, every year you got to go get a shot. If it's here with us all the time, maybe every 6 months. It's kind of the way I think it's going to be for a while. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us, text the program as well. We will get back to that normal way of life. I do promise you that. Frustrated as people are, and they're frustrated, we're going to get back to normal. It's going to happen. Now, how young is too young? San Francisco is toying around with the idea that 16-year-olds should vote. 16-year-olds. They say, I think Vote 16 will help youth of color in San Francisco establish the habit of voting at an early age and really provide them with support and the resources that they need to continue building on the habit as they grow over, said Crystal Chan, an 18-year-old, an organizer for Vote 16 SF, who fought to get the measure on the ballot. So, I'm sorry. I think 18's young to vote. My brother's 21. He's still a kid. He is. I think we all thought we knew stuff. Oh, you could send people to war. You could send stuff. It's the understanding of things, right? So, and what is that? The prefrontal cortex. They said the average person doesn't fully develop that until they're 24 to 26, on average 25, a little bit older for males, a little bit younger for females. Teens process information with the amygdala, which is the emotional part of the brain. So you could send, we were just talking about this up there, you could send a kid and say, all right, look, here, you have a chance to vote. Now, this is going to be for probably city elections. This will not be for statewide elections. This is going to be for city elections, local elections. You can send somebody to learn all the civics of why you vote, why it's important to vote, what your vote means, and all of the electoral college, all of those. You could send somebody to understand that. But them getting it and then understanding the issues at hand when they vote are two separate things. Are absolutely two separate things. Do I think that they should be allowed to vote? That's the question I have on Twitter today. You can go there, at Chad Benson Show. Check it out for yourself. I don't. I just think it's too young. Most of you agree. 57% say 18. 42% say 21. Maybe you're 18 to vote in your state and local elections, 21 to vote in the national. There's ways to look about it. Just like kind of alcohol. In some places you're younger than 21, you could drink beer, but a harder alcohol comes when you're 21. It's about it's not just about whether or not you cast the vote. It's about, did you understand what you were voting for? Did you get what you were voting for? Did you understand the issues at hand, whether it's issues about bonds or taxes? Did you get most voters struggle with that anyway. So I think 16 is too young to vote, but it is California, and as we all know, they do what California does, which is whatever that they want to do. Oh my God, it does get frustrating though. Some of those things that I sit here and some of the lunacy, and this is the first year in forever where California is feeling something they've never really felt, which are people are moving out. They're fleeing. New York. Business leaders signed a very terse letter to de Blasio saying, what in God's name are you doing? This city is becoming a cesspool, and it's on your watch. And his whole thought is, well, the feds need to give us a bunch of money. California, uber liberal, and it's liberal. Let's be real, why it's super liberal. I always say, you take California politics and you put it pretty much anywhere else in the country where they have 4 seasons, and you see that will change. But all of that being said, California's feeling an exodus. People are sick and tired of paying high prices. They're sick and tired of paying high taxes, which go with those high prices. Whether it's gas, whether it's rent, whether it's whatever it is that they have to pay for extra that other people don't have to pay for because California thinks it's all that in a bag of chips. But you're seeing this exodus from big blue cities. And people are saying we've had enough. We can't even afford it. Or even though we can afford it, what are we getting for the money we're paying? California's feeling that right now. They're absolutely feeling it, as they should. I left California 3 years ago. I loved growing up in California. It was always a liberal place, but it got to the point now where it's to me, outside of my son and my family, there's no reason for me to go back there. And really my son. I mean, I visit my family, but they come here. But my son, and I took him home this weekend, and there's nothing about it. You get the wildfires raging. Well, why do you have wildfires? It's all climate change. Is it all climate change, or is it a bit climate change and a bit the fact that you won't allow people to go into areas and to cut and to clean? Crazy politics, but it's starting to sway. People are starting to say, and the thing is, people are leaving. It's not like their minds are changing. They've just said, I've had enough. Very rarely do you change an area's mind when it comes to politics. Mostly it's people move out, other people with different ideologies move in. So it's happening here in Arizona. Arizona's gone from a dead red state to a purple state, so I think that there's a good chance it may be blue by this election. But it isn't because people have changed their minds. It's because a lot of people are moving out. You get a lot of people from California and other places are coming here. It's affordable. It's close to the coast. Those minds aren't being changed. It's just a shifting of the demographics. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. Car Shield. What's it do? Look, it's been tough for all of us last several months, but we do depend on our cars. I think we all noticed that. Now, cars tend to have more issues, especially over the summer months because of AC. You got cooling fans, you got the AC itself breaking, timing change repairs, power windows, motors, all of those things. Just common issues. Car Shield's here to help. Now, Car Shield knows that we're all trying to save a little bit of money, so why not take a little bit of money and protect yourself as a just in case? Cars are lasting longer. Car Shield has the answer. Plans start as low as $99 a month. They're custable. Payments are flexible. And what I love about Car Shield, you call them up. Be specific. Say, my car, I'm worried about my transmission. I'm worried about the electronics of my car. Whatever it is that you're worried about, be specific. Just don't have to worry about long-term commitments. Just say, hey, these are the things I'm worried about. What can you do to help me? You get 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. You choose the shop. They get them paid directly. Get coverage today. See why Car Shield goes farther than anyone else. 800-CAR-6000. Mention code Benson. 800-CAR-6000. Mention code Benson. You save 10%. Or go to carshield.com, carshield.com. Use that code Benson to save 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
No need to fear. We promise we won't give you a noogie and make you cry Russia, Russia, Russia.
Fui to fearless leader.
Fui.
Fui, and double fui.
What is your language? This is a family show, remember?
Fui to family too.
Nostrovia. This is Chad Benson.
We're trying to prevent World War III.
At the box office, a $200 million global haul for Christopher Nolan's Tenet. About $29.9 million of that from the take here in the U.S. in its second week, still at number one. While major markets like New York and Los Angeles stay closed to moviegoers due to the pandemic.
Do you know what mutants are?
Fox's X-Men spin-off The New Mutants pulling in another $2 million. Unhinged with $1.5 million.
Max broke up with me.
The only new film in release, the romantic comedy The Broken Hearts Gallery, raked in just over $1 million.
Yeah, not a lot of theaters out there. 2,800 theaters. So to give you an idea, Tenet would probably be on 3,500 to 4,000 theaters that are open for business. Not kind of open, but actually open for business. And people are scared. A new study out that says 60% of people worry about going to see a movie because of the spread of the coronavirus. I've not gone and saw a movie, and it's just because where I live, our theater hasn't really played anything that I'd want to go see. So as soon as they do, I probably will. But the chances are, if I'm going to see it, it's probably some horror movie that's cheesy, and there's going to be like 2 people seeing the movie the whole week, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I understand people's fear. That's why they stay home and they watch Netflix. Speaking of Netflix, still getting hammered over cuties. I have a couple buddies who watched the movie, him and his wife, and very, very progressive. Great people. And I said, how was it? And they said, it's not some crazy right-wing talking point. The reality is this was a bit much even for them. Ted Cruz is now getting involved.
This movie, Cuties, it sexualizes 11-year-old girls, has them dancing like strippers, has them in very suggestive sexual roles, and it's frankly disgusting. And, you know, Netflix is an incredibly profitable U.S. company. Barack Obama makes a ton of money from Netflix, and they are profiting. They are making money by selling the sexual exploitation of young kids. And
it is a bit much. It is. And I'm not a prude, and I'm one of these guys who's like, oh, God, you know, like, I don't know why he brings Barack Obama into this. It shows the politics of all chance to. But there is some stuff in here where I'm like, come on. This, even for our standards here. Now, it's a European movie. Europe's a little bit different. That's what you guys want to do. That's your own thing. For me, the stuff I've seen is enough for me to say, yeah, I'm going to give a pass. And they try to spin it as, no, it's about the coming of age and her understanding who she is and blah. No, it's too gratuitous for that. You're trying to fit the narrative into what people have already said about the movie, and it doesn't work with that.
So I asked the Attorney General to investigate them because federal law makes it a crime. It is a felony to distribute child pornography. And it's interesting online, lots of so-called journalists were defending, well, it's just a movie. You know what? We arrest and put in jail people every year for movies. If you have child pornography, if you have kids engaged in sexual activities, if you produce it, if you distribute it, you face criminal penalties. Yeah. And Netflix is making a ton of money.
So it is disturbing. It is. I just and producer Anthony, who also is not one of the prudes out there, he and I were talking, and quite frankly, he's like, yeah, it's just too gratuitous. The crotch shots, some of the stuff. There's some nudity in the movie, the whole 9 yards, and you only have to watch a couple of the. You go watch the trailer. You think, oh, this is about a coming of age in the sense where she's come from Senegal, she's in Paris, all this stuff's happening, she's trying to push back against her religious, very strict mother, and then you realize, yeah, it's a lot more than that. 323-538-2423, at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
And I said, it's a tough book. There are going to be things that you are not going to like. He, at the end, said, well, I didn't get you on this book. Maybe I'll get you on the next one.
But it looks like I don't have it on this book, but we'll get you sometime later.
It's tough, sir. Thank you very much.
And after you told the president that it was, in your words, a tough book, what did he do?
An hour and a half later, he tweeted that the Bob Woodward book is going to be fake.
Because that's what he does. Of course, he's got to defend himself. Look, Bob Woodward leans to the left. Most journalists do, is what it is. But I think he is a good journalist. And I mean that in the modern sense of the term. He's a great journalist. He's an all-timer. But in the modern sense of it, he still continues. He's an author more than he is a journalist, I'd say at this point. Wants to go deeper on a singular subject, collectively. And he throws opinion into this one. There was a day and age where there was none of that. But he's past that day and age. He's out. He's selling a book. He's doing what he does. I got zero problems with that. This is interesting.
You're known as the reporter who doesn't put his thumb on the scale. And yet, at the end of this book, you do just that.
It's a conclusion based on overwhelming evidence. He could not rise to the occasion with the virus and tell the truth. And one of the things that President Trump told me in the presidency, there's always dynamite behind the door. The real dynamite is President Trump. He is the dynamite. Yes, I say the president is the wrong man for the job.
There you go. That's the way it is. That's what he thinks. Now it's going to be up to the American people. Do they think he's the wrong man for the job? This solely based on the way he makes it sound is this is based solely on the virus. Bob Woodward makes it sound right there that this is only about the virus. This has nothing to do with anything other than that. That if there wasn't the virus, and I'll say this, I believe in my heart, if the virus hadn't hit and we continued on the path that we were going, despite the anger in this country, despite what's going on in the division in this country, I think Trump sleepwalks to another 4 years. The virus has made everything crazy. It's flipped us all upside down. It's flipped us all upside down, not just in our day-to-day lives in America, but globally. Is Biden the person to beat him? Has Trump done stuff that warrants a second term.
Oh, I disagree that the president took political calculations into a global pandemic like we've never seen before. The president was calm and steady and methodical. He canceled travel from China on January 31st. He created the coronavirus task force on February 9th. He created a plan to get the private sector engaged, to ramp up PPE, to get ventilators in place, to slow the spread, to ramp up testing. These are things you want from a president.
Yeah. Ronna McDaniel. Sure as the RNC. Yeah, those are things that we want. Now, just because you have those things in place doesn't mean you always follow those things. I think that's a lot of the frustration that people had with Trump. Could he have gone further? Could he not have gone? Well, of course he could have gone further. Remember the people that are criticizing him the most. If he would have went further, they would have criticized him in the other direction, saying he's going too far. This is political gain. That's what he's using this virus for. He's using it to make sure that he grabs another 4 years and who knows how much longer. So on the left side of the aisle, it's hard to take any of that serious because they're going to fit the narrative that they want into it. But could he have gone further? Of course, he could have done some other things. Monday morning quarterback. Let me tell you what I would have done yesterday if I was the Bucks playing the Saints. If I'm Brady, I don't throw those 2 interceptions. Oh, yeah, that's probably what we'd have done right there too. Oh yeah. That's Monday morning quarterback.
Think of what would have happened if he'd have gone out and said, this is awful. We should all be afraid. We don't have a plan. It would have been a run on the banks. It would have been a run on the hospitals. It would have been a run on the grocery stores. As it was already hard to get some of the things we needed in the grocery stores. So the president was calm and steady in a time of unrest and uncertainty. And I think history will look back on him well as how he handled this pandemic.
We'll find out. Once the dust settles, we look back on presidents in a much different way. We get wary of them. The message becomes long in the tooth. It's the coach that stuck around a season or two too long. We're ready to get rid of them by the time they leave. That's why I've been a big proponent of a one term, 6 year for the president. So you get one term, you get 6 years, and you don't run for re-election because it takes all of this out. Of course there's political thought process in this. You'd be a fool to think there's not. In saying all of that, when we look back at Trump in several years and we look at the coronavirus, we're going to have some places where we're going to go, should have done better. And the other side, we look back and we might say, you know what? This was probably the right thing to do here. But that comes with time. Right now, when you're in the middle of it, which is the problem with, this is a problem with most people have in life. If you're trying to fix something while you're in the middle of it, and that's not going to be fixed at that point in time. Meaning, we're trying to fix the past, lay blame, have a trial, have a conviction, while we haven't even come out the other side. You can't do that. This is what we've got to do. We've got to figure out how to get through it and go from there. One of the great golfers of all time, Gene Sarazen, said, when you go out on the range just before your game and you're not hitting the ball very well, as far as like maybe you're slicing it, you're drawing it, you're hooking a little bit too much, that's not when you try to fix it, right? It's too late. You're going out on the range, so you got to play with the hands that are dealt with you and then fix it later on. That's what we have to do. This is the hands we've been dealt. This is where it's at. What do we have to do? We have to get through it. And then when the dust settles, we take a deep breath and non-emotionally, we look back and we then engage. What went wrong? How do we make it better? Was there anything we could have done? Did Trump do this right or wrong? And that's hard because everybody's emotional. And when you allow emotions into this, it is just an ugly situation. It is. And I don't think right now any of us, because so many of us are so divided in the political world, that we can make any kind of real, take any real judgment of this because of the emotions. You're going to defend the side that you're on. We're still in this thing. It isn't going anywhere yet. How do we get through it together? That's the thing we should be asking every single day. How do we get through this thing together? What do we need to get through this thing together? How do we take this day and make it a little bit better? What can I do to make sure that I don't catch it and I don't spread it? Just little things as individuals. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us, text the program as well. Love hearing from every single one of you. Yesterday, I did watch the football. It's funny how I posted that and how many reactions I got from some people who were like pissed that I watched it because of the wokeness or non-wokeness of said game. And I'm like, I don't care. I like the game. I wanted to see if it was going to be super woke. And it really wasn't.
Make people feel a certain way. But I think that our players will do what they feel comfortable doing, and we will support that. And I hope that they support one another. I want it to be real. I want it to be authentic. And so sometimes that path for demonstration or bringing about positive change may look differently for each person. But we always have those conversations. And it's about respect and listening, Teresa.
Mike Vrabel there, coach of the Tennessee Titans. They take on Denver tonight. Will they come out? Won't they come out? Each team and each game seems to be doing a few things a little bit different than the other stadiums. It wasn't that woke. It wasn't overplayed. I mean, so I enjoyed it. I sat back and I enjoyed the games. I watched the games, had some fun with the games. There was some surprises out there. A lot of sloppy football. You expect that. A lot of guys jumping early. A lot of passes that were overthrown. It was just it felt like a preseason game at times. And even Tom Brady talked about the no crowd thing. By the way, the no crowd thing was that was the thing that was kind of eerie.
It felt like a scrimmage out there, but obviously it counts. And I think we're all disappointed it didn't go our way. But the only people that can do something about it are the guys in the room. And we got to look at each other in the eye and all work harder, put more urgency on the things we have to do, and get back to work and do a better job.
But it did feel like a scrimmage at times. You can hear a lot of stuff too. They're all mic'd up and they've got the boom mics out there, but you can hear a lot of things too. So I thought yesterday was good. The football's a little bit sloppy. I'm just happy football's back. Many of you are like, I'll never watch football again. Your prerogative. Your prerogative. I watch football. I like football. I enjoy it. It's another one of those things. And I flip back and forth between watching football and a little bit of golf at the end of the day, watching football, a little bit of golf. This weekend, you got the U.S. Open. I'll be excited about that. But I enjoyed it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. We have a poll up today. I want to hear from you. San Francisco's toying around with the idea of 16-year-olds voting locally. What do you think? Too young? I gave you three ages, 16, 18, 21. Currently, 18 leads by 63.5%. 21 gets 36.5%, which means 16 gets 0%. What say you? Text the program, 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Masterclass offers exclusive classes in a wide variety of topics. I go on there and, it's got everything. You go on there and you see everything from, I'm amazed. They've got Steve Martin. They've got Tony Hawk. They've got Shonda Rhimes teaching about writing. Annie Leibovitz teaching about photography. The best of the best in the world that they live in. Not people who've never really done it before. People that have done it, who become masters in their craft, teach you. And they do it very easily. It's broken down into this. Individual lessons, fit everyday life, about 20 lessons per class, 10 minutes per lesson. It's that simple. You do it at your own pace. They're available anytime from any smart device. So your phone, computer, tablet, smart TV. And you get downloaded material to help you support what it is you're doing. Whether it's recipes, exercises, workbooks, they've got it all there. Over 85 classes of the best instructors in the world who are people that do it. What are you waiting for? I love it. You'll be obsessed with it. I highly recommend it. Get unlimited access to every masterclass just for being a Chad Benson Show listener. 15% off an annual membership. Go to masterclass.com/Benson. That's masterclass.com/Benson for 15% off. Masterclass.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's take a look at what's trending. We'll start on the Google. The Google. Lots of NFL stuff trending. Tons of NFL. That's what trended all day yesterday. Continues to trend. It's interesting when you, just to show you how big the NFL is, whether people want to believe it or not. Oh, they're over, they're done with, everybody slow your roll. Average day, you might get somebody gets 1 million searches. Yesterday, 2 million searches plus for Brady, Cowboys, NFL scores, Patriots, NFL, 49ers, Seahawks, Raiders, Bengals, Bears, Browns, all got well over 1 million. You move to today, 2 big things. Colin Kaepernick, we'll touch on that, and Breonna Taylor, we'll touch on that. They're waiting in Louisville for the findings and whether or not they will arrest and press charges against the police officers. And Colin Kaepernick claims that Eric Reed, who's really kind of was the second one to stand up and support Kaepernick and has been very vocal, is being blackballed. And Kaepernick's not happy about the entire situation with the NFL, and they believe it's just a bunch of, well, he just thinks it's all a bunch of crap, what they're doing and how they're trying to be woke now. Joe Rogan is trending. And the reason? Joe offered to moderate a presidential debate. Trump said, yeah. Okay. Trump challenged Biden to a 4-hour debate hosted by Joe Rogan. Tim Kennedy was on last week. He says on my podcast with Joe Rogan, he offered to moderate a debate between @Joe Biden and @Real Donald Trump. It would be for 4 hours with no live audience, just the 2 candidates, cameras, and their visions on how to move the country forward. Who wants this? #debates, #election 2020. Trump tweeted, I do, and retweeted that. So that's kind of funny. That would be interesting. So you've got 2 weeks from tomorrow. 2 weeks from tomorrow is the first debate. And that's going to be moderated by Chris Wallace, which I think will be the best of the moderation people that are going to be out there, the referees, if you will, both the drivers of the debate and the referee, because I think he's going to be hard on both of them. So we'll see. We'll see. Top of that, you've got Roy Moore trending. He's you guys remember him, the weirdo. Was he from Alabama? Yeah. George Floyd trending. Trump trending, helping Drudge trend because he says it's no longer hot. And yeah, so you guys ready for this? Breonna Taylor, more of that. NFL and activism, that's all on Twitter. 323-538-2423 @Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Got a poll question up about when is too young to vote. What should be the age? Talk about that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
toll on the president politically. Our latest ABC News Ipsos poll shows 65% of Americans now disapprove of Trump's handling of the coronavirus. And he's still facing fallout from those explosive revelations in Bob Woodward's new book.
Yeah, it's not been kind to him. Let's be real. It's Monday morning quarterbacking. I think that no matter who is in charge, here's the thing. Trump shuts it all down early. The left screams. He's trying to take over everything. He's politicizing it. Right, so he goes and does that. Shuts it down too early. Everybody freaks out. Left jumps on the other side. Doesn't do what he was supposed to, as far as some people are concerned. And he's evil and he's bad and he's failed everybody. There's a lot of blame to go around.
Think of what would have happened if he'd have gone out and said, this is awful. We should all be afraid. We don't have a plan. It would have been a run on the banks. It would have been a run on the hospitals. It would have been a run on the grocery stores. As it was already hard to get some of the things we needed in the grocery stores. So the president was calm and steady in a time of unrest and uncertainty. And I think history will look back on him well as how he handled this pandemic.
Well, we'll see. I don't know if that to be true. And we love to blame. Let's be real. We love playing the blame game. We do. We love to play the blame game. But there's plenty of blame to go around. And that's what I've been saying since this. I read a great article the other day in Vox. Ezra Klein was with an epidemiologist. And the thing that makes us great, the thing that makes us who we are as a country, our freedoms, how we cherish those freedoms, and probably don't think about them the way that we should, and how we view them. We take them for granted too often, but is our individualism. So while the rest of the globe has a singular kind of way that they deal with this based on their government, we have 50 different little countries and a big country that unites us. So Trump defers to the states. The governors defer to us as individuals to be responsible. And some people weren't. And some people were. And as much as I think he could have done better, my frustration with Trump in the way that this has been handled, comes after we started to get a much different feel and understanding of this thing. Not early on in the game, because early on in this thing, I don't care that what he said or didn't say at that point in time. I didn't want him to come out. I don't know what he should have said. This is one of the questions that people are asking. It's like, hey, what about Biden? What would he done?
If Joe Biden were president in January or February, he would have taken proper precautions. He would have warned the American people. He would have told folks to social distance. He would have modeled good behavior in wearing a mask.
That's what he would have done? First of all, January, February, they're still talking, including Fauci, January 22nd, saying this is nothing for us to be worried about. We should pay attention to it, meaning the powers that be, but the reality is not a threat to the country. So slow your roll on that. We want to blame Trump for everything. He's the president. Team wins, the players and the coach get the credit. Team loses, sometimes the players get the credit, but most of the time it's about the coach. He's the coach.
I don't think it's right to blame the failures of the American pandemic response on any one factor. We're seeing pictures of Trump here, and he is central to the problem, but he's not solely responsible. There's also all the problems of America's broken systems, its stretched healthcare system, its underfunding of public health, its legacy of racism and discrimination that have led to people of color being disproportionately hit by this virus.
Well, I don't know if that's what it's all about. But there's issues. Let's be real. You can't blame. It's amazing that so many people want to blame all of America's problems today on Trump, who's been in office for 3 years. And before Trump, everything was rosy. And that's not true. He could have handled this pandemic later on better. I think the way he ignored it, the way he poo-pooed it at times, hasn't helped him, but he did stuff early on that the media doesn't give him credit for. And then later on, the people who support Trump won't criticize the fact that this was annoying more than anything else. This got in the way of Trump world. This was frustrating. It's annoying. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us, text the program as well. All of that being said, people are still struggling. The virus hasn't gone anywhere. Across the country, most places have some sort of lockdown order still in place or operate at a certain capacity. The GOP and the Dems can't seem to get anything together.
Why is the GOP, quite frankly, always pushing to offer the American people the crumbs from the table? We need to give them relief that really helps them to carry on their word about being able to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. We need to pass a meaningful bill. And quite frankly, if the GOP is interested in helping American families, the HEROES Act is sitting right there. Take it for an up or down vote.
I think we should do a skinny bill. I've said that. I'll continue to say that. I don't think we need to attack everything at once because I think we're trying to, we don't know what's going to happen over the next 90 days. So let's attack this in 90-day chunks. Mitch McConnell tried to get something done. The Dems didn't want to hear it. The Dems want to play politics as much as the Republicans do. Both sides are playing politics. The American people need action. I don't need politics. I need action. I have friends out there that are struggling through no fault of their own. Their businesses are shut down, or they can only operate at a certain kind of capacity where it's just not worth them operating at all, because to come in and to start up everything and to do everything would be a loss of money. Many of you probably are sitting in the same situation and you're frustrated, and all that they need to do, let's just get something done for the American people. For the American people. It's simple. A skinny bill. A bill that focuses on putting some money in people's pockets to keep the roof over their head. Helping out the states to make sure that the foreclosures and the people don't get evicted, as well as some money. Because many of you don't know this. So the federal money that came for unemployment, this is what's crazy. I was talking to a lot of people. I don't think they understand this. That federal $600 that's gone now, well, you get state money. That's where your unemployment comes from the state. A lot of states have exhausted already because of the massive crush of unemployment their funds. So they do need some help. But I don't think we need to fund everything. I think we need to do the right thing at this moment in time to help people on an individual basis. Does it need to be targeted in certain areas? I know some people have said that. Kudlow, Mnuchin, maybe we need to have targeted unemployment, something needs to be done. But we don't need to tackle everything at once. And I don't think they're going to get anything done or have any meaningful opportunity to get something done until after the election. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program. Got a poll up today. Polls about voting. San Francisco's toying with the idea of allowing 16-year-olds to vote locally. And how this would work is, I have no idea. I guess you're voting for so maybe your mayors, the school, there's things of that nature. But you're not voting. You're not voting on the governor. You're not voting those. It's just locally. You'll have a chance to vote. And the way that they're coming at it is you start to build habits. Good voting habits that will continue to follow you throughout your life. I think it's ridiculous. I think 16 is too young. I think that 18, and the way I look at it when it comes to some of these things, and I put it up there, 16, 18, 21, those are the three choices. 18 has 61%. 21 has 37%. 16 has 1.2%. The way I've looked at it is 18 maybe in the local and state elections, 21 for president, unless you're in the military. And the reason I look at it in that direction is if you go and you see when your brain fully develops. So it's one thing to understand how the system itself works. It's another thing to understand the issues within the system. My little brother has some serious issues with learning. He reads almost at a college level, even though he's just turning 15. And by that, I mean, it's ridiculous how well he reads. His comprehension of what he's reading is very minimal. And I think a lot of times, especially with kids, when we realize that youth, the amygdala, right, the emotional side is there. Prefrontal cortex, which is the non-emotional side, that doesn't really develop until you're in your early 20s to mid-20s. So I just think I'm going to pass on that. I think it's too young to vote. Don't you have to have an ID? No, you never have to have an ID for anything. 16, huh? Why not just let everybody vote? Yeah, that's what we're talking about. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. What say you? Text the program, tweet at us, check out the Instagram, Chad Benson Show TV as well on YouTube. Rough Greens. So spending more and more time with my dog Doodle. He's a little bit older. He has got bad arthritic hips, and he's also got a really bad fatty tumors in his hips. And it's caused a world of hell for the poor little guy. So we didn't know what to do with him. We thought about putting him to sleep. Then because he was so bad, he was much older than we thought when we adopted him, then we tried Rough Greens. Now, Rough Greens isn't dog food. You sprinkle it on your dog's food, and it brings your dog's food to life. Your dog's food was meant to live on a shelf. It was never, ever meant to be living. With Rough Greens, you get 25 vitamins and minerals, probiotics, right? That's great. You get omega-3, 6, and 9, antioxidants. All of these things bring your dog's food to life. And in doing so, you see the changes. Now, they get a 14-day jump start. It's $14.95. It's the best thing I've ever done for my dog, Doodle. Doodle's bouncy. Doodle's happy. Doodle runs around and plays with the puppies because we got 2 younger dogs. And he loves it. And it's amazing. He doesn't bark. He doesn't snap like he used to. He's feeling better. $14.95 for a 14-day jump start. Call 833-MyDog88, 833-MyDog88, or go to roughgreens.com/Chad, ruffgreens.com/Chad. You can even see a picture of Doodle and I. ruffgreens.com/Chad. Rough Greens, we make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
It's unclear why Microsoft's offer was rejected. Neither Oracle nor TikTok have commented, but it's worth noting Oracle stands out in Silicon Valley because of the tech company's reported ties to the Trump administration. Some may argue the biggest headline is that we'll get to see more of those TikTok dances and challenges.
Yeah, so TikTok and Microsoft couldn't come to any kind of an agreement. Trump, and I think rightly so, I think we've got to look at some of this stuff, especially with China, and say to ourselves, what kind of app is this? What should we really worried about when it comes to them gathering information?
Amid national security concerns for being a Chinese-owned company, President Trump signed an executive order early August threatening the tech company behind TikTok to sell its U.S. operations, giving the popular app just 45 days to strike a deal with another tech company or face being banned.
Now, I don't know how he does it. Some countries have done it, India being one. India and China do not have the best relations. People always tell me, God, if we get into war with China. So let me tell you something. If we got into war with China, it would be partially nuclear. Let's not pretend that it wouldn't. But immediately, we have 1 billion plus Indians who are not fans of China and are having issues that would turn their gaze on China very, very fast. And they too also are nuclear. That's why I think we need to do more business in China. More business there. But the TikTok thing, it's real. Huawei, we said no to Huawei. So did the Brits and several other countries. And while TikTok and the people, I think it's BitDance who owns TikTok, says, look, the American operation is completely separate from the other operations, I don't buy it. And I think that we should be wary of it because I just don't trust. Sorry, I don't. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. Love hearing from you. Australia. We were talking last week about Australia and what's going on there. What's the flu season like? Because they're kind of a first mover in that, and it has been less. They've had a very mild flu season. A lot of that is because we're social distancing by nature. But they still have coronavirus issues.
Queensland State Chief Health Officer Jeanette Young says she now travels with a police escort because of the threats.
The support that they've shown to me and has made me feel much, much safer doing what I need to do and knowing that I'm supported in doing it.
The regional government has been under mounting criticism for making people spend 2 weeks in hotel quarantine when they cross the state border from other parts of Australia.
Yeah, they're trying to keep it so and clamp it down. It's not just us that are having issues. France and Spain have seen a massive spike, even though they've continued to have a semi-lockdown that's been much stronger than ours. And they're seeing another spike. Australia is seeing little bits and pieces here. While their flu season's been mild, they're still focused on this. This could be an ebb and flow situation. We may not get the handle on it the way we like until the way that we think, okay, we got some sort of handle where we can operate somewhat normal, wearing a mask, but being able to go into certain places and do certain things and go to a sporting event or a movie and not worrying about stuff. That may not happen until we have either we're going to live with this, through it and around it, or we have a vaccine. But everybody is having the same issues. And as much as Trump gets all kinds of pushback and criticism, and he deserves some of it, the reality is Germany's seeing another rise. France is seeing 10+ thousand cases a day. Spain's seen another massive spike in there. It is not just us that have issues, and doesn't seem to be any real way in certain times to slow this thing down. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the show. What do you think? 16 too young to vote? Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. San Francisco's thinking about allowing 16-year-olds to vote in local elections. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Disagree that the president took political calculations into a global pandemic like we've never seen before. The president was calm and steady and methodical. He canceled travel from China on January 31st. He created the coronavirus task force on February 9th. He created a plan to get the private sector engaged, to ramp up PPE, to get ventilators in place, to slow the spread, to ramp up testing. These are things we want from a president.
Yeah, those are things we want, but it's the stuff afterwards that people are upset about. We're heading into the voting time. We're 50 days away. Soak that in for a second. Trump is dealing with an ugly poll when it comes to the coronavirus because what's on people's minds? The coronavirus. How has he handled it? Well, he didn't want to freak people out, but then later on he acted like, well, it's no big deal, it'll go away eventually. You're going to be judged on this. You are. Some people didn't think you did enough. Some people said, my goodness, Trump's spot on. The reality is we're going to know how America feels. And by that, the 15 to 20% of independents, which are going to sway this. We will know that in November. We'll get his final report card.
President Trump's approval for his handling of COVID is 35% compared to 65% who disapprove in the latest ABC News Ipsos poll. Roughly 2/3 think the president acted too slowly in responding to the outbreak and also distrust what he has said about the coronavirus. That includes about a quarter of Republicans responding. The survey was conducted Friday through Saturday in English and Spanish of 533 adults. Numbers could be off 4.7 percentage points.
Yeah. What's that mean? Well, even some Republicans have been frustrated. And it's not just about what everybody points out. Oh, my God, did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said? Did you listen to the thing at all, Chad? I got that all last week about the pandemic. And remember, when he was talking to Bob Woodward, this thing really wasn't a pandemic yet. And Bob Woodward even pointed out that Fauci was telling everybody we have nothing to worry about.
Did the president ever disclose to you why he wasn't telling the public what the stakes were with the coronavirus?
In March, I asked exactly that question, what's going on? And the president said,
well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you.
Sure, I want you to.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want to create a panic.
Now, if he said, look, I want to play it down because I don't think it's a big deal, that'd be one thing. I don't want to create a panic. Well, that's a fair thing to say. But, Chad, he knew in February. Nobody knew about this thing in February the way that we know about it now and the way we'll know about it a year from now. None of us did. So let's not pretend that we did. My issues with the way he's handled this came in April, May, and June. The way he at times poo-pooed it, pushed it to the side. It became more of an annoyance and not a reality. So, yeah, there was failures in the way that he handled that. But I think we're going to get, I believe, Pfizer's already talking about in the next month, they're going to be ready with their vaccine, ready with it. There's going to be several other that will be coming out in the next 60 days. So we pushed and we got this thing through. The private federal partnership seems to be working. But yes, there's a reason to be upset in the way that some of this stuff was handled. And it's not all Trump's fault.
Look, I think in this respect, the White House leadership was failed by health officials. We did not have a diagnostic in the field, so we couldn't screen for it. We should have. We should have started working on that in January. And we over-relied on a surveillance system that was built for flu and not for coronavirus without recognizing that it wasn't going to be as sensitive at detecting coronavirus spread as it was for flu because the two viruses spread very differently. Those were two critical failings.
But we find some of those things out later on. But yes, there were issues. Were absolutely issues. Dr. Gottlieb is right. We failed in some, and that's part of what's going on right now is look, how do we get past this? Because we're in the middle of it. We can point fingers at everybody. You should have done this. You should have done that. You should have been here. You should have done that. But we're still in the midst of it. Blaming everybody isn't going to move it forward and help us.
Now, you could say, well, the president put those people in place. He's responsible. You can make second-order arguments around that. But I think ultimately the White House did not have the information they need to make decisions. The key function of agencies in the government is to provide policymakers with accurate, actionable information. The White House didn't have it.
That true? Well, we're still trying to figure this thing out. We're still trying to come up with it. And history is what we're going to judge it on. We'll come out the other side. May, June of next year, we're sitting in a much different position. We take a deep breath. We're starting to come out of this thing because the vaccine or a vaccine or several vaccines that are out there may be available to us. So the possibility is that we're getting back to some normal way of life. Then we can start to look and we can start to judge. Monday morning quarterback. We're not even playing Monday morning quarterback. We're playing you just did the play, so now we're going to judge you on that said play in the midst of the game.
And I had a lot of conversations with the White House over this time period because I was concerned it was spreading here, and I was pushing them on that. And they were telling me over and over that they were hearing from top officials from the agencies that they were pretty confident that it wasn't spreading here. I think when history looks back, that's going to be a key moment. That's what was going on over February.
Let me tell you why it won't matter. And history is going to be judged by who? The people who write it, the people who put it down. And those people don't like Trump. So history will be crafted the way that they want it to be. Potentially not the way it is. But we're not done. We're not out of this thing, and it's still here. And it's frustrating, and it's pissing us all off. And we all want somebody to blame. And I think, one of the things that, and there's a great article with Ezra Klein and Vox talking to an epidemiologist, talking about one of the things that has also been different compared to the way that other nations have taken this thing on is who we are and how we've done it. By nature, we're individuals. We're skeptic of our government, both at the local level and at the national level. You go and look at the way that other nations trust their government across the board. It's usually in the 60 and 70% range. It's the exact opposite. Trump's approval ratings are in the high 30s to low to mid 40s. Congress is in the teens if they're lucky, which is still below the coronavirus. So we're inherently skeptical on this stuff. So one of the parts that they pointed out is Trump kicked it down to the states to handle their own business, which I'm totally fine with. We like states' rights. You know your state better than they know your state. From there, the states in most places kicked it down to the individual. And as we all know, some individuals, a good majority of them, do a good job. But there's also enough to screw things up. Would I have it any other way? I like individuals. I like being able to be individualistic and having that. I didn't want to... the federal response should have come potentially in testing, but I thought each state should have been able to do their own thing, and I still feel that way. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. Love hearing from every single one of you. Yesterday...
Bring the play clock down inside of 10. We'll snap it at about 4:15 left on the game clock. Here's Jacobs, right side, 5-yard line, end zone touchdown. His third touchdown of the game.
Touchdown, Raiders. Las Vegas Raiders. Bizarre to say. How woke was the NFL? Wasn't super wokey. I didn't think. I expected more. I'll be honest with you. I expected more, but a lot of people were pissed, and it shows. Near record ratings collapse with the NFL. Started Thursday night. You had the booing of the Texans in the Chiefs game. Yesterday, there wasn't really any crowds there. Preliminary ratings viewership was down about 13% from 2019. But here's the thing. 19.3 million compared to 22.2 million last year. But that's above the 9-year low of 19 million from 2018. So when you bring that into what everybody else gets, it's still massive. I did watch the games. I thought they were sloppy, but enjoyable. I also think not having a crowd there definitely affects some of the players. Tom Brady spoke about what it felt like not having any fans there.
It felt like a scrimmage out there, but, obviously it counts.
Felt like a scrimmage. There's no fans. There was no noise. And watching that game last night in that absolutely stunning stadium, SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, which is just incredible. It did feel weird. But I enjoyed it. It was sloppy at times. It felt like a first preseason game for some of these players, and they have to be excited to get off the schneid and actually hit somebody that is not a teammate of theirs. All in all, I expected it to be down. Will it be that way throughout the season? I wouldn't doubt it. I think it's going to be down a little bit. At the end of the day, though, I guarantee it's still going to win pretty much every time slot it's in. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. San Francisco is toying around with the idea, as they do, of allowing 16-year-olds to vote in the local elections. What do you think? Good, bad, silly? Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. 16%'s got 1% so far. 18%'s got 63.3%. 21% has 35.7%. What say you? You can tweet at us, text the program as well. Love hearing from all of you. Slept amazing last night. Didn't get as many hours as I wanted to because I got up extra early today. But my Purple mattress helps me get the sleep I need, even if it's only for 3, 4, 5 hours because I do work a lot. They have 1,800 open-air channels, neutralized the body's heat. So what does that mean? You're never going to sleep too hot. You're never going to sleep too cold, right? They've got all of these amazing technology built within this. And they always talk about the mattresses for every body, and it truly is. They've got the everyday purple pillow engineered with the grid as well. It's just incredible. You are never going to find anything that's this amazing when you spend as much time as most of us do. I mean, think about it. Even if you're spending 6 to 8 hours a day trying to get some sleep, you're spending a good portion of your life, between 25 and about 33% of your life, 34% of your life, in bed. Why not have the best products out there? Right now, you can try every Purple product risk-free with free shipping and returns, and Purple has financing available as low as 0% APR for qualified customers. Experience the Purple grid, and you're going to sleep like you never slept before. Go to purple.com/Benson10. Use the promo code Benson10 for a limited time offer. That's 10% off any order $200 or more. That's purple.com/Benson10, promo code Benson10. You get 10% off any order $200 or more. Purple.com/Benson10, promo code Benson10. Terms apply. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
They were alert enough right after the shooting to radio in their own help. Their department tweeting, they are both still fighting for their lives and in critical condition. Those deputies were identified as a 31-year-old mother of a 6-year-old and a 24-year-old man. They were both just sworn in 14 months ago, according to the sheriff.
Yeah, the insanity of this. So if you guys haven't seen two officers sitting in their car in Compton, somebody approaches them in full black gear, like a mask and a hoodie, and shoots them, strikes one of the officers, female officers. She's 31. She's got a young child in the jaw, the other one in the head. They're fighting for their lives. Some people were excited about this. Yeah, that's right. Some people were excited.
A small number of anti-police protesters facing off with law enforcement. One deputy's weapon drawn, authorities asking the group to leave, saying they were blocking an entrance for emergency vehicles. One protester live streaming the incident. People could be heard taunting the injured deputies and trying to incite the others.
Nice. That's solid. Who's going to want to be a cop? Here's a real question. Who in God's name would want to be a cop? You've got a group of people that are pushing a narrative that all cops are evil. You've got a group of people who are talking about defunding the police, which is not abolishing, but you do have a group of people that are also talking about abolishing the police. You see people usually in the worst moment of their day and sometimes the worst moment of the year in life. Who's going to want to be a cop? Who are you going to call? You're not calling Ghostbusters. They're not real. So who are you going to call? Just answer me that question. Some sort of special citizens brigade? Because I bet you that's going to go over solid. Minnesota's tried this and like, it isn't working like we thought. We can't even figure out how to do this. We should be putting more money into this. We should be expanding programs. We should be expanding training. Out there rooting the cops die? That's where we are? Who's going to want to be a cop? This is the vile, disgusting thing. You know it and I know it. I could look at what took place with George Floyd and say vile and disgusting. I could look place at what took place with Jacob Blake and say that didn't need to happen. Even if I think to myself, Jacob Blake put himself in a lot of bad situations throughout his lifetime and in that position. But this is vile and disgusting. And it's not going to bring us closer. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
A lot of families are finishing up their first week of school right now. Many of them had to do so virtually. My family, your family, among them. Is it normal to hate this?
It is normal, and that's why empathy goes so far. I think we have to acknowledge the difficulty of this. It feels lonely, it feels cumbersome, it feels tedious, and so acknowledging that to start off is the only way we're going to be able to manage this, because if we pretend that it's supposed to be all great, that's not going to help anyone.
No, that's not. That's Jake Tapper, but he's talking to Georgetown psychology professor Andrea Bonnier. It's not normal. Kids are frustrated. They're frustrated. We talked last week. He got in trouble for showing up at school to go to class when class was going on, but he's not supposed to schedule. Kids are frustrated. Parents are frustrated. I read today, and I've said this, and I'll continue to say this, and I think you guys, a lot of you are feeling this. You're pissed off at the local government for the way that they're handling schools and the way that this thing, first of all, just across the board, where they talk about it. Well, if we get it under this % positive, we're going to start to reopen. If we get under this positive, we're going to reopen completely. Then when you get to those levels, the goalpost moves. And now we're at the point where it feels like unless there's a vaccine, we're never going to fully reopen. And people are frustrated and pissed off and angry. And that's being felt with parents in schools. 4 million parents may have to quit their jobs to school their kids. Think about that. 4 million. And you're seeing a battle right now between teachers and parents who are like, well, wait a minute. I have to go to work. Why shouldn't you? Well, you could be working remotely. In some cases, I think we think everybody works remotely. I come into the office every single day. We've got a good portion of our building that works remotely, but not everybody. But there's also a good portion of people that continue to go to work on a day-to-day basis. And people looking at teachers going, well, wait a minute here. Why aren't you guys teaching? And they're frustrated. And this is going to have repercussions down the road. And I'll tell you why. Because what do teachers need? They need goodwill with the parents, especially around voting time, because many times what are they doing? They're asking for more money. They're asking for something. Here in Arizona, we had this big walkout / sick out over several days about a year and a half ago. Teachers got what they wanted. Now there's another ballot on this year's election, another, ballot issue for them about raising taxes. And the parents I've talked to are like, hell no. That goodwill's gone. People are frustrated.
So a lot of kids are frankly angry about what's happening. They don't understand why. Why can't they play with their friends? Why do they have to stay in the house?
I think it's really about focusing not on what we can't do, but saying we are helping others by staying home. We are keeping teachers safe by not opening schools. We are doing our part to keep our neighbors healthy by not going around and having big parties. And that's the type of thing that children can relate to more so than just, here's what we're not doing.
No. Here's the reality. Kids are kind of over it. They are. They're frustrated. They're angry. They're losing their minds. It's not been good for my son. My son's 10 years old. If you guys listen to the show, his name's Jack. If you're new to the show, he's 10. And he went home yesterday. And he's frustrated. And he's angry. He's talked about the fact that he was upset about a week and a half ago that his two best friends, he's seen them once since this thing has started for just a couple of hours. He's not playing sports. You can see there's a certain level of frustration that is growing, and the activity level for him and the normal things that he's done has been down. The schooling side of things hasn't been great, but hasn't been great for a lot of them. And his school does it right. His school has done it totally right. Frustrated, though. Some parents, it's like, well, and I told him, said, this is just what it is, man, But I get your frustration. But this is what it is. This is how we're going to deal with this. But I also think we're in a position where the moving goalpost are frustrating a lot of parents. Some parents are in a situation where they're having to work part-time now, or they've had to quit their jobs. They're talking about 4 million people thinking about quitting their jobs. But then there's the unknown of what if schools open up and they close it down again, which they're doing in some areas. And that's frustrating. And the kids start-stop is not good for them. And when we look at the numbers and we realize, are we worried about the teachers or worried about the students? We're worried about both, obviously. But the reality is the numbers bear out that the teachers are more vulnerable than the kids are. There's no wrong answer or right answer. There's just a lot of frustration. But at some point in time, we're going to have to figure out, do we live with this, through this, and around this? Or do we just wait and hope and pray that we get a vaccine? But the setback that I think is happening for a lot of these kids is massive. It truly is. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's Twitter. Teachers are frustrated, too.
Today, I feel like they're just a little off balance, maybe a little bit, with the rooms looking different, everybody wearing masks. But I think it is going to become a new norm for a little while, and children are going to get used to it, and we're getting used to it every day that goes by.
Yeah, it's a teacher talking about the classrooms. So my little brother, my mother got so frustrated with his school. So I've got nieces and nephews that my mother has adopted. So they're now my little brothers and sisters. 3 of them are in school. One of them, my youngest one, Kenny, we call him Bubba. My mom got so frustrated with his school and the way it was set up that she put him in private school. And she says it's like they go into you were right, Chad. She goes, they've got plexiglass, like to separate them. So it's like their own little hockey penalty box they're in. And on the other side of things, my brother who's in 10th grade, 3 weeks in, he had been on one Zoom call. There's been no check-ins, none of that stuff. They just kind of send him his stuff, and it's been Flounder Village. And then my son, on the other side of things, he goes to a STEM school. And they are crushing it, the way they've set it up. The teachers, here's the other side of things. The teachers that are at his school are so much more advanced technologically than a lot of the other teachers I see out there. They're not worried about certain things going wrong. But it's funny, I was talking to a teacher last week, well, the Zoom stuff's hard. I'm like, look, if you can't figure out Zoom, you shouldn't be teaching children. Right? If Zoom is like way over your head, I'm not asking you to code. I'm not asking for that. But if you haven't figured out the Zoom thing in the 6-7 months, maybe it's time we look for something else. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. Trump making a Western state visit. He is doing what? Trying to win this election, and he's courting Latinos.
But I'm truly honored to be here today with Latinos for Trump. Thank you very much. As you probably saw in some of the shows this morning, they're very disturbed by the poll numbers because we're very high and leading with Latinos, and that's a really tremendous thing.
Yeah. I find this to be, well, quite frankly, I think people are going to be surprised by Trump. I think they are. I think they're going to be surprised by Trump and how he's doing in certain areas with people of color and with Latinos. I think he's going to be I think he's going to do better than people think. And same thing we were just looking at. When you look at some of these polls, and he's down in the polls in some areas, but those numbers are starting to tighten. And as those things start to tighten up, you start to look around and realize he is, in certain places that are battleground states, still kind of more than holding his own.
Joe Biden failed Hispanic Americans. I've delivered for Hispanic Americans more than any other president. I'm fighting for you every single day, and you understand that better than anybody. But I've achieved more for Hispanic Americans in 47 months than Joe Biden has achieved in 47 years.
People say, what's Trump going to go after Biden for during these debates? And I said, well, you've had 47 years of public service. Let's go back and look at your history. You have every right to criticize Trump, but don't think that Biden is infallible because he's anything but. On top of the fact that I do still think there are issues with Biden cognitively. Absolutely, I do. I think a lot of people feel like there's a little bit of more and more people are asking. There are some real questions about that. And then for the people out there that are the Christian conservatives who can't stand everything is about Trump and they say, oh, I'm going to vote for Biden, Meghan McCain and John Kasich kind of got into it. And it's a very interesting conversation.
You're pro-life, I know that, and you were pro-life when you were in politics, as am I. It's a big, big part of who I am and my platform, and I don't think taxpayers should be funding abortions for women who are as pregnant as I am right now. So how would you push back against a voter like me who's concerned about things like this in a possible Biden-Kamala administration?
I agree with your position on the life issue, Megan, but look, I disagree with Joe Biden in a number of areas. But the issues here are dwarfed, in my opinion, by the fact that he's a person that can pull us together.
He's not a person that's going to be able to pull us together. He's not. We're divided along ideology lines. It has nothing to do with who the person is. That person may be able to evoke emotions, but we're at the point now where it's our ideology that has pushed us apart.
So do I think that if he wins, that all of a sudden all these things are going to happen that are negative? No, I don't believe that at all, because that's not his character. That's not who he is. I hope this is appropriate for me to say. As you know, your father and Joe were great friends. Why? Not because they agreed on everything, but they could find common ground. So do I think we're going to end up in some cataclysmic place if he wins? I don't. But I do believe 4 more years of this division is wrecking the very soul of our country.
Well, I don't think our soul of our country's wrecked. I don't think Joe... Here's the way Joe brings us together. I've always talked about he's going to bore us, which would be one thing, because politics just won't be the exciting part of things. And the second thing is the way the media is going to handle him and the way the media is going to critique him outside of a few outlets is going to be pretty favorable. So it's just... It's not going to be the same thing. That reality TV show side of things is going to go away. And that's one way that people will, again, their ideology won't change. Just their emotions will shift to something different.
And we continue down this path. I don't know how we come back, except, by the way, I would encourage people to look at what I wrote on USA Today about the power of faith. Franklin Roosevelt, Lincoln himself, called on the power of God to help the American people to overcome crises. That is part of how we're going to overcome this division, with the inspiration from our Creator animating individuals to wake up to what's happening in this country.
All that being said, you're also talking about somebody who, look, as a person of faith, I believe in God. It's a lot of who I am. in saying all of that, the left side of the aisle, they want to be more progressive. And the more progressive that's out there, it's less about God, it's less about individualism, it's more about God being replaced by the federal government. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. And that's the thing, too, when you talk to people who are really progressive, it's so much of that is about government and coming in and doing those things, less about faith and the individual. It's more about the federal government and the government itself being a central part of your life. And when people say, well, I don't know how some of these people who are poor can vote for Trump. And I said, you guys are thinking strictly on the lines of the financial side of things. You're not thinking about whether or not they believe in they're pro-life or they believe in God and they feel like people on the left think they're stupid and idiotic and for believing that. And the Second Amendment and individualism. You look at them in a way where you look down upon them. It's not about the dollar and money side of things in many cases. There's a huge part of their faith that plays into how they vote. And I'm sure they're frustrated a lot, too, with Trump. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Oh, summer's winding down. What are you doing? How about starting something new? Choose from more than 22 chef-curated recipes each week with my buddies over at HelloFresh. Now, I'm doing low-calorie this week. They got vegetarian, family-friendly options. Jack was here. We added meals, family-friendly options. He ate them all. Loved them. Meals could be on the table within 20 minutes. What happens? You got a recipe card. You open it up. You look at all the stuff inside. It's America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh. You put it together and within 20 minutes, you're eating and saving money. Wow. I've got like an itemized thing that I go through. The amount of money I'm saving is huge compared to what I was when I was going to the grocery store. Thank you, HelloFresh. More savings, better value. And the other thing is, I can change when I need to. If I'm going to be out of town, I could skip meals, even a week. If I need to add some, like when Jack was here, I can do that. HelloFresh is flexible to fit your lifestyle. Get started today. America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com. Use promo code Benson. $80 off your first box, including free shipping. That's promo code Benson at HelloFresh.com for $80 off your first box and free shipping. HelloFresh.com. Promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
According to an anonymous source in the White House, President Trump shocked aides and other staffers last year when he lost his temper and punched a baby in the face. That sounds pretty bad, that he would do something like that.
That is shocking news.
That is shocking.
And where is this coming from?
Multiple anonymous sources.
How reliable are they?
Well, I mean, there were multiple of them, and they confirmed it.
That is a parody from the Babylon Bee. We have lost our ability to laugh. Somebody's going to hear that, and they're going to attack me later, which shows me. Do you be surprised how many people will come out and say, I can't believe you're for defunding the police, or I can't believe you're for this, or I can't believe you're for that, or I can't believe you said those things. And I'm like, did you listen? Yeah, I kind of heard what you said. And I said, that's not what I said. And then you try to explain it to them. And like, oh, I'm sorry about that. Because people don't pay attention. They hear what they want to hear. They pick and choose. They have selective, filtering that goes in and out. And that's the problem in today's world, especially in cancel culture, where you can get yourself or get somebody else into, chaos and craziness for not really understanding context. Like, if I wouldn't have said anything about that, people would flip. But it's a joke. In your mind, Trump never punched a baby. But you have to preface that. And that's sad. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. NFL tonight, will I be watching? Yes, I will. Monday Night Football. You got the Broncos and Titans. I'm going Titans on that one. And that should be fun. See how woke they get tonight. And then you got the first game, the early game, Steelers, Giants. Giants get a win for me. Have a blessed, wonderful, amazing day. Be kind to each other. We'll do it again tomorrow night, Jack.
is The Chad Benson Show.